everyone. A little bit of technical adjusting this evening, but welcome to our final live session Q&A for the Saturday Visitor Awards. We're switching things up a little bit this evening. We're going to do a little bit of the Q&A at the beginning, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask me some questions, and then I'm going to cut over to our discussion and creativity with Rafael Alvarez, our presenter and guest of honor for the 2021 Saturday Visitor Awards. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Enrica Jang. I'm the executive director of Poe Baltimore in the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum, as well as the awards administrator for the Saturday Visitor Awards. I hope everybody has had a good week. Seeing you 2 times this week. I got to see some of you guys on Monday, but I am here tonight to answer your questions about the Saturday Visitor Awards. The deadline to enter the 2021 awards is May 30th, the penultimate day in May. You have until 11:59 p.m. Eastern to enter your original works inspired by Poe or your adaptations of Edgar Allan Poe's works. We are seeing just incredible competition. I think people just had time to be creative in 2020. There was a lot of catharsis, a lot of just getting this stuff out there. So we're seeing just such incredible work this year, and I cannot wait to share with our judges, and I cannot wait to share the nominees and winners with all of you. So before I begin the video this evening, as I get everything teed up, I want to share a couple of things about the awards, tips and tricks. We'll begin tips and frequently asked questions, this kind of thing. Share with everyone if you have been watching our series of Q&A either in January, December and January, or for the last couple of weeks. You may have seen I've been talking about some of the common pitfalls when people enter, these kinds of things, and just some of the questions that have been coming in. We got some really, really good ones on Monday, so I'll recap some of those. But just to, again, start things off tonight, I'm going to start with a little bit of this Q&A, and then we will have an opportunity to watch our interview with Rafael Alvarez. But if you want to send me your questions as you think of them, want to send them via the comments, I'm going to see them. And I'm also going to provide an email for you so that you can send them to me if you have them. So we'll start with frequently asked questions for the Saturday Visitor Awards. Frequently asked questions and tips. Of course, dates to remember. January 19th. Come and gone, past. We are almost to May 30th, the deadline to enter. Again, the form will close at 11:59 p.m. I'm going to be staying up until midnight that night, watching the clock, and I'm going to be closing that portal at 11:59 p.m. I'm going to slam it right down on your finger. So you want to make sure you get your entries in before that time. Now, the slate will be turned over to our judges who judge over a period of 3 rounds. The nominees for the 2021 awards will be notified and announced by July 30th, and then the nominees invited to Baltimore to accept their prestigious award, very prestigious award. But then October 2nd at Poe Fest International is this ceremony and presentation at the Black Cat Ball, the official party of the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival and Awards. The return of the festival to Baltimore. I'm so excited that that's actually going to be happening. Knock on wood. The pandemic might just laugh at us, but we are ready. All right. If you have any questions, if you want to see more about the awards, want to see the entry guidelines, you can download PDF. You can read them on our website, SaturdayVisitorAwards.org. You find entry guidelines. You can even download a sample entry form so you can practice your answers before you enter them in that form. And actually, you want to do that because you cannot save the form in the middle of your entry. It is a Google form, and you won't be able to save it. So you want to keep that in mind. You want to have those answers ready to paste in to the document. Other frequently asked questions are available on the website, and you can contact us through the website, contact@poefestinternational.org. I will show you guys that email again. The one thing we ask is tonight during the live session, please don't be shy. You can send those questions to me in the comments. I'm going to be flipping over there in a moment to see them. And during our discussion with Rafael Alvarez, please consider sending your questions my way, and that way we will have them ready for you guys to, for me to answer them when we come back. But don't be shy. But then later, after our live Q&A tonight, please do. You don't want to send any questions via social media or like, you know, in the DMs or tagging us on Twitter, that kind of thing. Please contact us via email. It's really just going to be much easier for everyone involved to answer your question. Make sure that we're answering your question, what you need. All right. Now, there are 2 categories for the Saturday Visitor Awards, adaptations of Poe's life or works and original works.
You obviously have a very creative...
Pause in there for a minute. Starting a little soon. I'm going to show a quick video talking about the guidelines and talking about these 2 categories. I love that theme music. And thank you to Mark Mullaney for putting those videos together for us, talking about the awards. But as we were saying, SVA categories, adaptations of Poe's life or works, including portraiture. Poe was a historical figure, so likeness of Poe, the actual person. Portraits. Now, portraits can get pretty creative, and even some of our winners have taken just incredible takes on Poe, paintings, several feet tall, beaded work, oil paintings, just about anything you can imagine. We've seen just some wonderful, beautiful work from people. So please, there's no barrier in terms of medium or genre. So please, as creative as you want. Sculpture, we're seeing just as incredible things. So portraiture, biography is in the adaptations of Poe's life or works category because of the narrative nature of biography. Now, please note the Saturday Visitor Awards are intended to recognize artistic works. They're not necessarily for academic criticism. So academic papers or this kind of analysis, not for the Saturday Visitor Awards. I love that stuff. We'll send you over to the Poe Studies Association or the Edgar Allan Poe Society of Baltimore. Whereas biography for us, narrative of Poe's life, got to be a good storyteller to make that stuff interesting, right? So biography falls here. Film or dramatic adaptation of Poe's works. We've seen animation, we've seen comics, we've seen filmed, just about any theater. This encompasses adaptations of Poe's life or works, and probably more traditional in the sense of a direct adaptation of Poe's pieces or Poe's life. Whereas the original works inspired by Poe, this category is a little bit more loose. Poe's life as character in a film, novel, or play, whether it's fictional or whether inspired by Poe, where he appears as a character in an original story, novel, play, that kind of thing. This would be the original works category. Sequels, prequels, or any basis for an original story inspired by Poe or with connected to Poe in some way or somebody from Poe's life. That would fall in the original works category. Original poetry, of course, would fall here. Now, do not worry if you have any questions about where your work falls. Obviously, these are all creative things, interpretation. You might be really thinking about this question and not know, where do I go? What do I do? Please feel free to reach out to me, the administrator, reach out to us before you submit. But the other thing to know is, even if the judges decide that your piece might be better in another category, you will be moved to the other category. You will be notified. You'll be moved to the next category instead, and that does not kick you out of the running. So submit your work. Even if you can't get a hold of me in time or you're watching this video after it has aired, just know that if there's not enough time to reach me, or if you don't get an answer, submit. Make your best guess. And then if the judges decide, we'll move you, you're not penalized in any way. You're just moved. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Okay, eligibility. So this gets a little bit tricky. These are the ins and outs of the Saturday Visitor Awards. And of course, well, we do get a lot of questions about this. I think one of the questions in the last session, why do the works have to be in the previous 3 years? So we'll talk about this. For eligibility, any media, art, performance, and/or writing that adapts or is inspired by Poe's life and works is eligible. There are no restrictions for medium or genre. Even mature content is acceptable. Now, the work must have been released, printed, distributed, or first performed between January 1, 2018 and December 31, 2020. The question was, why is it the previous 3 years, and why does the work have to have been in the public sphere before it is submitted? Can't I have written something in a notebook, quietly scan it, and send it to you? The answer is no. These awards are recognizing Poe's influence in popular culture, so you got to be in the culture for that. In fact, for you to be in the pot, you got to be in the mix in order to be considered here. So the work must have been released, printed, or distributed in this time, sometime in the previous 3 years. Now, social media does count, or self-published work does count. If you can show the judges that a piece was posted publicly, posted on a website with a timestamp, posted on YouTube with that date, that counts. And some people find that to be a little bit strange because they might have posted, but they might have kept it a private post. It's very important that that post was public for the world to see. Now, we're not counting likes, we're not counting views, we're not counting to see how many Goodreads reviews you might have gotten, that kind of thing. We want to see, though, that your work was out in the world January 1, 2018 through December 31, 2020. Now, if you are putting those final touches on your Poe work now, or you are formatting your your manuscript to send our way, and it's not quite done yet, I'm sorry, guys, you are not eligible until next year. But you have more time, that means, right? You have more time to get your entry ready for the 2022 Saturday Visitor Awards. But the awards for the 2021 SVAs, January 1, 2018 through December 31, 2020. And as the administrator, I can say that is the thing that tends to trip people up the most. So you want to read those guidelines carefully. Now, what if you've been creating a work or series of works for a very long time, and some of your work falls outside the period of eligibility, and some of that work falls inside? What you submit to the judges must have been created within, well, printed, distributed, or released within this period of eligibility. So you might have been working on a series of mystery podcasts for several years, but only episodes that were released during this period of eligibility should be submitted for consideration. So even though the series has been going on longer, as long as the piece that you're submitting, that is what you'll be judged on. So something to consider. Now, reprinted or re-released materials are discouraged. If you're watching this video, you're really disappointed because 5 years ago you created this incredible work. Can you just repackage it and print it again, or re-release it and then be eligible? We do discourage this unless the work has been changed materially in some way or edited to make it a different work in some way. And that will take a little bit of discussion with the judges. So you want to make sure that there's a very clear line to show, or clear argument to make for the judges that the work has in fact changed in some way. Otherwise, the copyright will determine its eligibility, and it may be determined ineligible. Now, for our past nominees who might be watching or interested in submitting their work again, another bite at the apple, a work nominated and may be nominated in more than 1 year, but a winning entry may not be entered again. So if you've been nominated in previous years, you are encouraged, as long as your work is still within this period of eligibility, you're encouraged to submit your work again. Our winners, though, winners are eternal. You are still a winner, so you can't be a winner again. Still a winner. So winning entries may not be entered again. All right. Now we will, let's see, description or synopsis of the work. Now, in the form that you will submit with your entry, you will have an opportunity to tell the judges what they may not be able to see because they're not in the presence of the work. What we mean by that. If a piece has dimensions that are not readily apparent from the link that you're providing to the judges. If it is a theater piece, for instance, and obviously the judge can't travel to you to see the work, experience the work, anything that the judges may not be readily apparent to the judges, you will be able to explain to them in this description or synopsis of the work. And this is where you can explain to them the process, what they may not be able to see, how long you had to work on each component, that kind of thing. This is where you tell the judges what they might not be able to see immediately. And there may be more questions about this, but you have an opportunity to share that with the judges. For long form entries, what we were talking about with series, for instance, you might have been creating for a long time, or films, your 6-hour opus, novels, your 900-page novel, scripts, or other series you've been working on for a very long time. We do ask, take a little pity on our judges who have to go through a lot of entries. And so we ask you to select, kill your darlings, and select a representative 10,000 words or a representative 20-minute maximum duration for the judges to view in the first round. You want it to be the best representative piece. Now, that does not bar the judge from looking at the rest, but this is where you want to point the judges so that they have something to go to immediately to see why your piece is the best piece of all the entries that they are seeing. You want to be concise, and you want to make sure that they're going directly to the best part of the piece that you feel is going to be really give the most impact for your work. Again, the judges are going to be looking at a lot of entries. And so this is your opportunity to really say, this is the best part. Look at this, 10,000 words of timestamp of 20-minute duration. And again, the judges may decide to continue to see more of the work because they're intrigued. But the first round, you really want to make an impact. And that's the purpose of selecting this segment for the first round. Now, you are also going to be asked to please provide a statement to accompany your piece. And I promise you that this is a very important part of your entry, sharing with the judges how Edgar Allan Poe or his writing is the subject and inspiration for the work. You don't want to be tenuous here. You don't want to be you want to be as absolutely clear as possible why your work is inspired by Poe, or how your work is inspired by Poe, or adapting Poe's work, and why Poe is an inspiration for you. This is going to provide clarity for your piece, give the judges an opportunity to see how your work is connected to Poe and why it continues Poe's legacy as opposed to just being commercial. This is an opportunity for you to share with the judges that. And there is a fee to enter pieces in the awards, $25 per entry. Now, you may submit, I have been asked in the past, and we have seen in the past, let's say you are the writer of a play, but you also are submitting a performance of the play for consideration for the awards. And the theater troupe and all of the people part of the ensemble are submitting the piece for consideration. The playwright may also submit the script for consideration. Those would be two separate entries. They will be considered separately, but this is another way to enter the awards. But each entry, each component that you enter as a separate entry will require that $25 fee. I did get a question about that earlier this week, but we have seen this in the past as well. All right, I don't see any questions here, but as I said, we are going to do things a little bit differently tonight. Did a lot of that Q&A first so that we could play our discussion with Rafael Alvarez for all of you. It's a discussion about creativity. In our previous interviews with our SVA judges, we talked specifically about the awards and how they were moved by Poe. This conversation, a little bit more amorphous, but talking with Rafael about creativity, talking with Rafael about work. This is a segment from our Poe House Presents series. Rafael presented on Mother's Day. He read Edgar Allan Poe's poem to my mother as his reading for Poe, and then read us an excerpt of one of his short stories and talking about his parents. So we had parents on the brain, but also generational creativity, really talking about where these things come from and the feelings within a creator as they are proceeding with their work. A little bit of intimidation, not feeling like your work is truly work. So Rafael talks about all of these topics and really touches on quite a wide-ranging scope of things. So please enjoy this video. It's a little bit of length here, but I will stay at the end to answer any questions. So this is a pre-recorded segment. Please feel free to send your comments and questions as the movie plays, and then I will come back. If there are any questions, I will answer them, and I will still be here to answer your questions for the SVA.
You obviously have a very creative family, at least this line, certainly in you with your daughter. Are your parents as creative, and do they express artistically this experience
Well, it's
for them?
very interesting. I think creative and artistic are very independent of one another. Um, when it comes to saving a penny, you're not going to find somebody more creative than my mother, you know? And by that I mean I'm not just saying, saving like getting by on threadbare. I mean um getting the most use out of any particular thing. They canned tomatoes for our spaghetti sauce. They turned industry, they turned sweat equity into the sort of savings that sent us to private school. Uh, Now it was Catholic school. It was the best version. And again, they didn't send us to Catholic school for religion. We're culturally Catholic, but they sure knew that if you grew up in Baltimore and you could say Mount St. Joseph, where I went to high school, or Loyola College, where I got my degree in English, um, that these were things that could be parlayed into uh, a good life, what they would call a good life. Dad's creative. Dad was a uh, chief engineer, deep sea, large ships. You know, um, I'll tell you what I consider creative. The scene that I'll never forget from what was the one? What was the movie with Hanks where he's an Apollo astronaut? Was it 12 or 11? Apollo 11 was one of those Apollos. Anyway, I even think Kevin Bacon's one of the astronauts, right?
Yes, and Bill
Right.
Paxton, I think.
Yeah. Well, anyway, things are going real bad, right? Think they're in big trouble. And Hanks calls down to Houston and Houston says, "What do you got? What can you get your hands on?" And one of the things he goes, "Well, I got a sock. I got like, three wing nuts or whatever he says." And Hanks does the math with a pencil, and and they figure it out. So that would be the creative part of my dad. And my mom was an artist in the kitchen. And it was you can see in a lot of families. um so I'm second generation. My dad's first generation, I'm second generation. uh and on my mom's side, our people have been here since the mid to the late 19th century. The Poles got here on the early end in Baltimore. And so it's rarely the first generation that leaps into the art world. First generation often leaps into the professional world, doctor, lawyer. There's going to be some kid who, through a combination of natural intelligence and family, sometimes family pressure, for lack of a better word, makes that leap. But when to get to the artist generation, usually that takes at least one generation of relative comfort. So my grandfather on my father's side built Liberty ships at Beth Steel and Sparrows Point during World War II. Learned it on the job. Um, that provided the, as my father would say, um, we weren't necessarily poor, but we sure as heck weren't rich. We were always fed. We always had clothes. And then the idea of toys at Christmas was weird to my father. They might get an orange, and maybe a little wooden boat or something. And then my father parlayed that into skilled labor, highly skilled labor, to be responsible. At deep sea, the chief engineer is equal to the captain. The captain is first among equals, but if that engine room is not running, the boat isn't going anywhere. And then, so that provided the what is largely gone now, which is the organized labor creation of the largest middle class this country has ever known, or the world has ever known, in post-World War II prosperity, that allowed me not to have the pressure of, you got to do this, you got to do that. I married their work ethic discipline to one thing, and that's writing. I have no interest in fixing anything. I have no interest in raking the leaves, right? I mean, I did all that, right? But I'm as much of a workaholic in my chosen craft. Here's another interesting thing, Enrica, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but it took me a long while to have, not to have pride in my work, but to believe that writing was work no different than what my parents and relatives did in what would be considered more traditional forms of work. I had relatives that were mail carriers, that were worked in the local national brewery, that were tool and die makers. And I'm very lucky that my parents supported that, because there are many stories of immigrant America where the kid that wanted to sit and read was considered lazy because it wasn't work, because it wasn't, and my parents never laid that on me. But still, where I came from, it took me until I started reading the biographies of other writers, the biographies of William Saroyan, of Thomas Wolfe, of Jack London, of Edgar Allan Poe, where I realized, okay, this is my work.
Yeah.
And of course, in America, anything you can transform into a dollar, they'll accept it in this country as work. So I'm proud of that.
Well, listening to you speak about that, it was going to be my next question, and it sounds that, well, bringing you back to Poe for a moment too, he raised by a foster family, but his foster father, an immigrant, Scottish immigrant with this kind of work ethic, and never mind the fact that he later inherited quite a bit of money, but one of the biggest
that has not happened in my family yet. Okay.
One of the biggest clashes for Edgar and his foster father was this artistic, sensitive boy versus the you got to do something practical kind of stereotypical, but that doesn't seem to be the case for your family.
Hold on one second. Artistic, sensitive, and weird. That's another part of what it is to be a writer. And weird.
First goth kid, that would be first emo kid. It's probably
really.
I
mean, eccentric is a nice word, but you don't learn what the word eccentric until you're maybe 12 or 13, depending what family you come from. What you are first is weird. My mother would see me swinging on the swing in the backyard all by myself, staring at the clouds, not talking to anybody for an hour, and would worry, I hope nothing's wrong with that kid. But
you didn't get that pushback from them. It doesn't sound like.
She kept it to herself. She kept it to herself. She would say it to, like, my aunt. Oh my God, I hope Ralph's okay. And my aunt would say, of course he's okay. He's a dreamer. He's a dream. But as we know, in this country, yes, dreams that are accomplished are highly rewarded. But if it doesn't get beyond staring out the window, something's wrong with you, right? Something is wrong with you. And I've accepted all the things that are wrong with me. It makes for better stories. But I fear that I talked over your last question.
I think, that is where it comes from, that pushback, right? The fear that they will be dreams unrealized, and then you'll have frittered away not only everything that the generation that came before you gave you and sacrificed so much for, but that you will then have to struggle in ways that they never wanted for you. So the combination of fear and anger, but it doesn't seem like your family No,
you know why? It's a double struggle too. I'll first of all, at the age of 19, I got a full-time job at the Baltimore Sun. So that was like a factory for storytelling. They could understand that. And then their son's name is on the front page of the local paper when it was a real big deal, 40 years ago. That produced great pride in them, the way my daughter writing and directing Netflix movies creates great pride in me. So that was like a safety net. It wasn't like I was, young Edgar, scribbling off poems that no one wanted. I have my share rejection slips, trust me. But there's a double fear here, and the secondary fear that I want to talk to you about is in the creative person himself or herself who bails on the dream to get a quote unquote job, even if that job is in the creative world. So I am now helping. I wouldn't call it mentoring. I mean, I've learned a lot of tricks of the trade that if I believe someone is serious, I freely share. I think you should do this, 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 and this. And this person has a PhD in writing, right? And doesn't feel like they accomplished anything because they're in an academic world, right? Because they grew up as a little kid. Like I always, what did you want to be when you were 9? No one wants to be like no one says, I want to be an adjunct professor getting paid next to nothing to help other dreamers realize their dream of making next to nothing. No one says that. They always say, I want to be a writer. That to me, that's like being a priest, a true writer, a vocation, capital V vocation, like a call, right? Which can be applied beyond the religious term to a call. I had the call to be a writer. I don't know where it came from. But anyway, so this friend of mine is now, I don't know, 58, 59 years old. You're quite young, Enrico, but, I feel like I'm in
Thank
the,
you, Rafael.
if I'm lucky, I'm in the bottom of the 7th inning, right? And if we're really lucky, we get extra innings. But so this friend I'm helping is also in the bottom of the 7th, maybe the top of the 8th. Nobody knows how long we've got. And is completely, was very, very proud of the fact that that the word doctor is now in front of their name. But it's as finding it a hollow achievement because she didn't pursue her heart as well. So I'm trying to help this person. And God, to get a PhD is a great achievement, as you know. But at some point, it can just be an honorific if it doesn't feel like it represents your true self. It's no different than saying, I'm an accountant, I'm a CPA. This is what I do as opposed to who I am. And this person in their heart of hearts is a writer and is seriously considering leaving the university where they work to take that leap at age 50 something into full-time writer. And I'm holding their hand on the leap.
Well, you have this opportunity to give this advice to all the young creatives, and not even young creatives, the people who are still reaching a new generation of folks inspired by Poe, but continuing in any endeavor, not just to keep going, but is there anything that you want to see from the new generation? Not just
I'll tell you what.
their works, but just what do we need to see? What's missing? What do we need?
First of all, stop calling yourself creatives. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Are you a writer? Then write. Are you a true artist? Then paint and do the hard work. Bleed for it. Creative is too loosey-goosey. It's too big a vessel. Like, oh, even if it's something as and I'm not here to offend anyone's craft. But creative, I think, allows people to say there's something they haven't done the work or the sweat or the labor or the angst or the despair to really say, do I have what it takes to make the major leagues? In baseball, there's this phrase, whether you've made it to the major leagues or you're just in the minor leagues. And there's this phrase that I was the worst baseball player of all time. It was long before I had a real girlfriend. Baseball broke my heart. Okay. I loved it and I was horrible at it, but I loved it. But in baseball, there's this phrase where they'll point to a young guy, and say, he's a ball player. He's a ball. They don't say he's a pitcher, he's an outfielder. It's a sense of craft that sometimes is man, it's in their DNA. You like, so I can take someone who's not a writer, and if they do the work I tell them to do, really do the work, I can make them a competent writer. And if someone comes to me and they're already a competent writer, I can make them a good writer. Beyond that, it's all inside. It's all like spiritual, for lack of a better word. It's all, what have I been given that I can use to, it was never, Enrica, the most talented person I was hanging out with that made it. It was always the one who wanted it more. And I just don't think that the younger generation, of whom I don't think any generation is more or less talented than the one before. We're given different different contexts. I was just too young for Woodstock, but I wanted to go even though I was 11, right? So that's kind of my thing. Then it was like the 9/11 generation. Now we're going to have the COVID generation. That's the cards that fate or history or whatever you want to call it deals each generation. I remember being 10 years old and us losing Dr. King and Bobby Kennedy in the same summer. I think about John Lennon every day because of that 6-year-old kid that saw him on Sullivan, and the Beatles allowed me more than anything to say to my parents as a real little kid. I don't think I verbalized it, but this belongs to me. I grew up always, having this idea of grown-ups, that like it was a race of people, grown-ups, and then they would all say, oh, the Beatles are a fad, they'll be gone by Christmas. Like, no, man.
And here we are.
They proved you wrong.
Oh, man.
And I think of John every single day. So anyway, what I would say to the younger generation is, and I don't think, because I have trouble with the word creative, that it's going away. So if you are creative, God bless you. But also think of the word craft and discipline, and find the skill at which you are willing to spend hours alone pursuing. Tell the stories that life has dealt you. If you're going to be a musician, be a good one. You're not going to play the music that I particularly love. You're going to play the music that's in you.
We will have to, unfortunately, we're down to our last minute, and I think that is an incredible place to, in fact, end, because you're going to be seeing some of the best of this generation of folks inspired by Poe. I know you're not one of our judges, but as a presenter, you're going to be seeing the very best for this year.
I look forward to it. I love young people. I love young people. And I say the same thing to all of them. Do the work. Do the work.
Well, that's true, ages 2 to 200, and there are no age limits for our Saturday Visitor Awards. So we're all young compared to Edgar Allan Poe. So young generation, you've got until May 30th to submit your works. Thank you, Rafael Alvarez, for being with us today. Thank you so very much, and for this incredible advice. I think you've encouraged every single person who's sitting on the fence whether or not they're going to submit their work.
Don't go to law school. It'll kill you. Law school will kill you.
In our last minute, can you please share with us where to find you? I know you've got a Patreon going on as well, so please tell folks where
Yeah, the easiest place is makingstreetbooks.com, which has a link to my Patreon, in which for as cheap as $3 a month, you can get all kind of Ralphie stories and collage and stuff like that, essays and fiction. Macon Street Books is exactly as it sounds. MACONSTREETBOOKS.com, and you'll get to see pictures of the people who had to deal with a kid who dropped a ball bearing in his ear.
Thank you so very. Thank you for being a weird kid, and thank you for being part of our series today. So we'll see you soon, Rafael. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody. Please visit us pobaltimore.org.
Thanks for the work you do, Enrica.
Thank you. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you again to Rafael Alvarez for being our presenter and guest of honor at the 2021 awards this year. And everybody have an opportunity to meet him at the Black Cat Ball at the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival and Awards, coming back to Baltimore October 2nd and 3rd. I'm going to put this graphic up here for everyone. We're so excited to be bringing the awards back to Baltimore. We were virtual last year, so we brought the awards to all of you, but we're excited to be able to stage the festival again in the shadow of Poe House. It's 2 days of books, music, and art, and of course the Saturday Visitor Awards are the awards of the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival. So mark your calendars, save the date. We do have a Pavers for Poe going on right now. If you're interested in grabbing some of those VIP Death Weekend Poe Places tours during the festival as well. All right, well, I did not see any questions coming in the comments section. So I will leave it to you guys to contact me at contact the administrator, contact@poefestinternational.org. That is the best place to reach me if you have any questions about your particular entry before the deadline. Again, May 30th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern. That's 1 minute to midnight. And I will be, again, slamming that window right on your fingers if you're late. So you want to get those entries in as soon as possible. If you want to learn more about the Saturday Visitor Awards.org, that is the URL to look at. You have guidelines there, frequently asked questions there, more about the awards, and a little bit about the Young Saturday Visitor Awards, a new category that is opening this year for Maryland high school students. We'll be focusing a little bit later on the summer about those Young Saturday Visitor Award entries. We'll have Shanti Daniels, the Executive Director of the Baltimore National Heritage Area, on to talk about the first year of the Young SVAs, but the oldie but goodie SVAs, again, call for entries ends May 30th. All right. If there are no other questions, or if you're too shy, just send us an email. Very, very happy to help anybody who is, again, on the fence about getting your entry in, or want to know a little bit more about the form or anything else about the categories, that kind of thing. Get in touch. Get in touch now before the deadline. We're all artistic people. We're all last minute folks, but it's better to get those questions answered as soon as possible. So thank you guys for being with me the last 2 Mondays, and this evening we'll be back again later this summer to talk about the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival and Awards, more details about the program as it develops, and of course the Saturday Visitor Award. Thank you very much. Bye guys.